Today's a special day. It's new bike day. One of my favorite days. This just landed on my doorstep. I still gotta put it together and take it for some rides and see if it lives up to the hype that I've got for it. My name's Kendall-Weed. I'm a former professional mountain bike racer. I used to work at Ibis Cycles. I used to be a sponsored Ibis rider. In this day and age, Ibis supplies me with frames to use in half my videos, and they sponsor 3 videos a year, one of which is this one. Yes, this video is sponsored by Ibis. Thank you, Ibis. In the Ripmo Ride Report video, I told you what I liked about the old AF, what I didn't so much like about it, and a lot of you had really good feedback in the comments. I always read through your comments, and I really appreciate every single one of them. To be honest, I think Ibis is reading through your comments too, because it looked to me like they answered most of your comments with this new bike. Grab our knife, we'll cut away from us so we don't get to visit the urgent care. Ooh, oh, look at that, snap. Look at how pretty this thing is. Oh man, there's not much to it. All right. I wonder how this color is gonna look on camera. Oh, I could totally just raining at home in Bellingham, so we drove 2 hours north up here to Mount From, North Vancouver. And I wanted to ride some classic old school trails, stuff that I probably saw on Bike Mag growing up as a kid. See if it lives up to the old school hype on this new school bike. It's all right. That has 2 entry lines. One is to ride around the nub, and the other would be to come straight down this. Hard to tell how gnarly this is. Fast forward a day or two and we're here in Sedona, Arizona on a family vacation, and I brought the new bike along. I haven't yet received any official information from Ibis about what this bike is, so I figured this is a great time to give you my actual ride impressions before I have any preconceived notions of what to be looking for, per se. But I believe this is basically a carbon fiber AF with a few higher priced upgrades like the internally routed rear derailleur, rear brake, seat post cables. Compared to the original Ripmo, the biggest difference I've noticed is that this bike feels more balanced. The new suspension and back being more progressive means the rear end is very well supported. I rarely end up out of control, bottomed out. With that slacker head tube angle, the bike just feels more composed in the way it corners. The main thing I've noticed on this bike versus the Ripmo AF that I've been riding the last 6 months or so is that this thing's much easier to change direction with on the trail. I do have a Fox X2 shock on my Ripmo AF, and I'm preferring this little DP X2 over that bigger X2 on the AF. It just feels like it's valved lighter internally. I'm able to move the shock more into its travel when I want to, but it still has plenty of bottom out resistance for those bigger out of control hits. The carbon layup is fantastic. It's stiffer than the Ripmo AF, and I noticed that through those torrent turns, and it might be why I'm able to corner a little bit more predictably on this. I notice how light this bike is coming from that Ripmo AF. Normally the new bike, super light psych thing, lasts for like a ride or two, and here I am over a half dozen rides in, and I still notice how light this thing is. Now, what I don't like about this bike, it's actually a very short list. The internally routed rear brake line's kind of a hassle if you tend to crash a lot and ruin parts. I've blown through a couple of rear brake levers in the last few months, so that's...
Crash after the Bubica.
I'm weird like that. I crash more than the average person because I'm trying all these silly stunts. That's a minor gripe. There's not a single zip tie on the entire build of this bike besides my fender, and I think that's really cool that we finally made it away from the zip tie. I want to also mention that I have not tried this bike with a stock Fox 36 160 fork on it. I'm a sponsored Trust rider, and on the AF, when I went up to a Trust shout fork from the 36, I really liked that extra height. The shout fork's 13 millimeters taller, so I've got an even slacker head angle than stock and a taller bottom bracket. It might be really nice if you have a Fox fork to throw an angle set on here to further slacken it out, because I think a half or a full degree slacker than the stock setup, it's going to feel really good for you aggressive riders out there. Thanks. I've been joined by Evelina's favorite Stuffy. So my biggest single complaint about this bike is that the bottom bracket height's pretty low. I'm running a taller fork by 13 mils, which is substantial, and a very progressive rear shock setup, not running a ton of sag. So my filmer Logan is a great rider. He's been on the podium at a bunch of expert class enduro races. He's following me. I'm on a different bike. And he catches a pedal, wrecks the crank arm, flips over OTB, and has a really bad crash, which I think a higher bottom bracket bike might have been able to avoid. I've actually ripped a couple pins out of the pedals because the bottom bracket's so low and I'm catching pedals. I'm running 170 cranks on the first setup, and then after Logan wrecked that crank arm with his pedal strike, I've put some 165 cranks on here. And here in Sedona, I haven't caught many pedals at all, and that 5 mils made a noticeable difference in clearance, but then also in pedaling. Your feet are going to move at a little bit slower foot speed for the given cadence with a shorter crank arm. And I've been really enjoying that. It's more comfortable for me when I'm pedaling around town, and on the tricky climbs, I notice a bit more control of the rear wheel when I'm pedaling with traction. So maybe I'm just a weirdo, but I've really liked the 165 cranks on this bike, and I'm definitely pretty content with it here in Sedona with the short cranks. I'd recommend all of you, if you're figuring out how to build your bike up, consider some short little 165 cranks. For reference, I'm 5'8", 174 centimeters. This is a medium Ripmo. If I was trying to be a racer guy, I'd probably have a large. With a medium, I can run that full 200 mil dropper post, and I can throw it around a little bit easier. We've got some more riding footage from the Northwest that's too fun to not share, so if you've been enjoying this video, let's dive into some more riding, and let me know in the comments, is this an enduro bike, an all-mountain bike, a trail bike, a free ride bike? What kind of bike do you think this is? I think of it as a free ride bike, and I know I'm probably the only person that thinks that, and that's because I use this bike to pedal up and then hit jumps on the way down. I think that's free riding. All right, let's go ride. Oh. Thanks for joining me. I've had a lot of fun on this bike. Thanks to Ibis for sponsoring this video. If you guys like this video, click the subscribe button below. It's that little red one. Leave me a comment, and I'll see you guys on the trail. I think so. I hope so.